The fires started simultaneously at 0347 hours, 5 separate buildings across the base erupting in flames that would mask the real terrorist attack. When the fire department couldn't determine the cause, the base fire safety officer said quietly, "These aren't accidents. I know exactly how they were set." What Lieutenant Sarah Martinez revealed next about her ATF arson investigation past explained why she'd been watching fire patterns instead of just preventing them. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more tales of unrecognized heroes. The morning inspection rounds at Fort Benning began at 0600 hours as Lieutenant Sarah Martinez conducted her daily fire safety assessment with the methodical precision that had characterized her work for the past 4 years. Armed with her clipboard, digital camera, and measuring tools, she moved through the administrative complex documenting fire safety compliance with the same attention to detail she applied to every building on the sprawling military installation. Sarah's role as base fire safety officer required comprehensive knowledge of fire prevention systems, emergency evacuation procedures, and safety regulations that protected thousands of military personnel and their families. At 33, she had earned reputation for thoroughness that exceeded standard safety protocols, often identifying potential fire hazards that less experienced inspectors might overlook. Her colleagues knew her as a dedicated professional who took fire prevention seriously, arriving early to complete inspections before normal duty hours and staying late to ensure all safety documentation was properly filed. What they didn't know was that Sarah's exceptional attention to fire-related details came from 12 years of previous experience hunting arsonists for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The transition from ATF arson investigator to military fire safety officer had been motivated by personal reasons she rarely discussed, but her expertise in fire science, accelerant detection, and burn pattern analysis remained as sharp as during her federal law enforcement career. For 4 years, she had channeled that knowledge into prevention rather than investigation, finding satisfaction in protecting lives rather than solving crimes. But Sarah's trained eye continued to analyze fire risks through the analytical framework that had made her one of the ATF's most successful arson investigators. Every building she inspected was evaluated not just for safety compliance, but for vulnerability to deliberate fire setting by someone with sophisticated knowledge of combustion science. This morning's routine inspection of the communications building revealed conditions that triggered her investigative instincts. Subtle changes in storage arrangements, modifications to electrical systems that weren't documented in safety reports, and access patterns that suggested unauthorized personnel had been in areas where they shouldn't have been present. Sarah documented these observations in her official safety reports, but her mental notes included details that would be significant to anyone trained in arson investigation. Someone with advanced knowledge of fire science had been evaluating the building's vulnerabilities, and their activities suggested planning that extended beyond casual reconnaissance. As she completed her morning inspections and returned to her office to process documentation, Sarah received reports of minor electrical issues in multiple buildings across the base. Individually, each report described routine maintenance problems, but collectively they indicated a pattern that concerned someone with her background. Lieutenant Martinez called Sergeant First Class Mike Torres, the senior NCO responsible for coordinating maintenance operations. "We've got electrical contractors working in 5 different buildings today. They're reporting some unusual wiring configurations that might affect fire safety systems." Sarah felt familiar analytical thinking engaging as she processed Torres's information through expertise she had hoped to keep separate from her current assignment. Electrical modifications in multiple buildings conducted by contractors whose credentials hadn't been verified through normal channels represented potential preparation for coordinated arson attacks. "Sergeant Torres, I need to inspect those electrical modifications personally," Sarah said, gathering her equipment with urgency that suggested something beyond routine safety compliance. "Which buildings are affected?" Torres consulted his maintenance schedule, listing locations that included the communications center, administrative complex, weapons storage facility, motor pool, and medical clinic. The selection represented critical infrastructure whose simultaneous destruction would cripple base operations and create maximum chaos. Sarah's inspection of the electrical modifications confirmed her worst suspicions. In each building, sophisticated fire accelerant systems had been installed disguised as routine electrical upgrades. The devices were designed to create simultaneous fires that would spread rapidly through building ventilation systems while appearing to be electrical accidents. As she documented the evidence, Sarah realized she was looking at preparation for a terrorist attack that would use coordinated arson to mask other operations. The timing, target selection, and technical sophistication indicated planning by individuals with both fire science expertise and detailed knowledge of base infrastructure. That evening, Sarah remained in her office analyzing fire safety data that documented not just compliance violations, but preparation for what appeared to be an imminent terrorist operation. Her training in arson investigation had identified a conspiracy that conventional security measures had missed. At 0347 hours, her analysis proved tragically accurate. The first explosion shattered the communications building, followed within seconds by fires erupting simultaneously in the administrative complex, weapons storage facility, motor pool, and medical clinic. The coordinated timing and rapid spread confirmed that the electrical modifications had been activated remotely to create maximum destruction. Sarah was awakened by alarms and emergency communications that indicated the base was under attack. As she rushed toward the scene, her mind was already analyzing the fire patterns through expertise that 12 years of ATF investigation had embedded in her consciousness. The base fire department responded with professional competence, but the simultaneous nature of the fires exceeded their resource capabilities. Chief Warrant Officer Robert Chen, the senior firefighter, coordinated multiple emergency responses while trying to understand how 5 separate buildings could experience catastrophic electrical fires within minutes of each other. "This doesn't make sense," Chen radioed to base command as his team struggled to contain fires that were spreading faster than conventional electrical accidents should allow. "These fires are behaving like accelerant-fed incidents, but there's no obvious ignition source." Sarah arrived at the first fire scene with her investigative equipment, though her official role was limited to safety assessment rather than fire suppression. But as she observed the burn patterns and fire behavior, her analysis revealed evidence that conventional firefighting approaches were missing. "Chief Chen." Sarah approached the senior firefighter with information that would require revealing expertise she had deliberately concealed. "These aren't electrical accidents. Someone set these fires deliberately using sophisticated accelerant systems." Chen looked at Sarah with confusion that quickly shifted to skepticism. "Lieutenant Martinez, you're fire safety, not investigation. How could you determine arson this quickly?" "Because I know what deliberate fire setting looks like," Sarah replied, knowing that her next words would expose her background. "And I know how to track down the people who did this." Chen studied Sarah with new interest, recognizing expertise that exceeded standard fire safety training. "Lieutenant, what's your background in arson investigation?" Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the familiar transition from prevention officer to criminal investigator that circumstances had forced upon her. "Chief, I spent 12 years with the ATF investigating arson cases. I can read these fire patterns like crime scenes." The revelation surprised Chen, who had known Sarah solely as a thorough safety officer. "If you have that expertise, why are you working fire prevention instead of investigation?" "Personal reasons," Sarah replied carefully. "But right now we have arsonists who are probably still on base, and I'm the only one who can track them down." Chen made a tactical decision that would be reviewed and questioned for months afterward, but felt absolutely necessary given the circumstances. "Lieutenant Martinez, I'm authorizing you to conduct arson investigation. What do you need?" Sarah felt familiar analytical thinking taking control as she transitioned from fire safety officer to criminal investigator. "Chief, I need access to all 5 fire scenes, photographs of burn patterns, and a team to help me trace the accelerant delivery systems." Over the next 6 hours, Sarah conducted comprehensive arson investigation that revealed the sophisticated nature of the terrorist attack. The fires had been set using remote-activated incendiary devices that delivered accelerants through modified electrical systems, creating the appearance of accidental electrical fires while actually being carefully planned arson. Her analysis of burn patterns, accelerant residue, and timing sequences identified the specific techniques used by the arsonists. The methods were consistent with training she had encountered during her ATF career, suggesting that the perpetrators had either military or federal law enforcement background in fire investigation. "Chief Chen," Sarah reported as she completed her preliminary analysis, "we're dealing with professionals who understand both fire science and base security protocols. They've used techniques designed to destroy evidence while creating maximum chaos." Chen studied Sarah's findings with growing recognition of expertise that exceeded anything his firefighting team could provide. "Lieutenant, can you determine who did this?" "I can track them," Sarah confirmed. "Arsonists always leave signatures in their work. These fires show patterns that will help me identify the perpetrators." Sarah's investigation revealed that the incendiary devices had been installed by the electrical contractors who had been working on multiple buildings over the past week. Their credentials, when checked through federal databases, proved to be sophisticated forgeries that had fooled routine security screening. The timing of the coordinated fires suggested they were designed to mask other terrorist activities, likely theft of weapons or classified materials, while emergency responders were focused on fire suppression. Sarah's analysis indicated that the arsonists were probably still on base, waiting for the chaos to provide cover for their primary mission. "Chief, these fires are a diversion," Sarah explained as she compiled evidence from all 5 scenes. "The real attack is probably happening right now while we're focused on fire suppression." Chen immediately radioed this assessment to base security, who discovered that weapons
storage areas had indeed been breached during the fire emergency. The arson attack had been designed to draw security personnel away from critical areas while terrorists accomplished their primary objectives. Sarah's arson investigation techniques enabled rapid identification of the perpetrator's location, the accelerant systems required remote activation from close range, and her analysis of timing sequences indicated the terrorists were operating from the base engineering building, which provided both concealment and access to control systems. Base security, this is Chief Chen. He radioed with coordinates Sarah had provided. Suspects are located in the engineering building, grid reference 427 Alpha. They're armed and dangerous. The subsequent tactical operation resulted in the capture of 3 terrorists who had been posing as electrical contractors while preparing coordinated arson attacks designed to steal weapons and create maximum disruption. Their arrest prevented additional attacks while providing evidence that confirmed the accuracy of Sarah's investigation. Colonel Patricia Wade, the base commander, summoned Sarah to her office following the successful resolution of the terrorist crisis. Her expression combined professional gratitude with obvious curiosity about the fire safety officer who had accomplished what conventional investigation might have taken days to achieve. Lieutenant Martinez, your arson investigation was instrumental in stopping this terrorist attack, Wade said. Chief Chen has briefed me on your background and your contributions to the operation. Thank you, ma'am, Sarah replied, though her tone carried the same measured professionalism that had characterized her fire safety work rather than satisfaction typically associated with successful criminal investigation. Wade studied Sarah with new understanding. Lieutenant, I have to ask why someone with your qualifications chose fire safety over criminal investigation. The question required Sarah to address the transition from ATF investigator to military fire safety officer that had been motivated by personal reasons she rarely discussed. Ma'am, I found that arson investigation required psychological demands that I preferred to avoid. Fire safety work allowed me to use my expertise in a less stressful environment. Wade nodded with appreciation for personnel who understood their limitations and chose assignments that maximized their effectiveness while maintaining personal well-being. Lieutenant, would you be interested in developing a role that combines fire safety with security investigation when needed? The offer represented a return to criminal investigation that Sarah had deliberately moved away from, but on terms that would allow her to maintain the prevention work she had found satisfying while contributing specialized expertise during emergencies. Ma'am, I'd be interested in exploring that possibility, Sarah agreed, but I want to continue my primary assignment to fire safety. Today's situation was exceptional. Wade smiled with understanding. Sometimes the most effective security measures combine prevention with investigation capabilities. As the immediate crisis concluded and normal base operations resumed with enhanced security protocols, Sarah returned to her fire safety inspections with the knowledge that her expertise extended far beyond prevention when circumstances required investigation. For 4 years, she had successfully separated herself from criminal investigation, finding satisfaction in fire prevention that protected lives without requiring her to hunt criminals. But the terrorist attack had demonstrated that her investigative expertise remained relevant when base security was threatened by sophisticated arson. 3 months later, the Martinez protocol had been implemented at multiple military installations, utilizing fire safety personnel as potential arson investigators who could rapidly identify deliberate fire setting during emergency situations. Sarah continued conducting fire safety inspections with the same methodical thoroughness that had characterized her work for 4 years, but everyone now knew that the fire safety officer possessed expertise in criminal investigation that had prevented a major terrorist attack. Sometimes, Sarah reflected as she completed another routine inspection, the best fire prevention comes from understanding how fires are deliberately set. When you know how arsonists think, you can better protect against both accidental and intentional fires. The base fire safety program continued its mission of protecting lives and property, but with new understanding that prevention and investigation could be combined when circumstances required comprehensive responses to fire-related threats. Sarah had proven that expertise in different aspects of fire science could be applied when duty demanded both prevention and criminal investigation. The arsonists who had planned a sophisticated terrorist attack had been defeated not through conventional security measures, but through the analytical capabilities of someone who understood their methods better than they understood hers. Her clipboard and measuring tools remained the primary equipment for daily fire safety inspections, but everyone now understood that the fire safety officer could also conduct criminal investigation when deliberate fire setting threatened base security. And sometimes the most effective response to terrorism came from those who had been trained to read the language that fire speaks when it's been set deliberately.